Good morning and happy new year to you and yours. I can still do that on January 5th, can I? Well, I just did, whether I can or not. It is the first 2023 edition of Our Town. My name is Darren Swinson. Our Town always brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. We've got a four-guest program on the show this morning. A little later on in the program, we will talk to Larry Schellhammer. Larry decided to not seek re-election this year after 12 years of serving on the Allamakee County Board of Supervisors. We'll talk about his career in public service a little later on in the program. We'll talk about the weather year that was in 2022. And when we talk to Decorah weather, more specifically, we talked to Decorah weather statistician and Luther College professor Richard Bernatz. It was another successful Holiday Lights fundraiser for helping services for youth and family. Ben Krouse-Gagne will talk about the event, and we'll give him the opportunity to say thank you to the community for what they did to help out that fine organization. But first things first, in the not-too-distant future, it's the Decorah Fire Department's annual Gala. And Zach Kerndt will discuss that with us right now as we kick off Our Town. It's brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, and you're listening to it on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Tickets are going on sale today for the Decorah Volunteer Fire Department Gala. That's coming up in early February. And here to talk about us is Zach Kerndt with the Decorah Fire Department. I know this has been an event that you guys have gotten going over the last few years, and it sounds like you got another big event planned for February 3rd. Tell us where it will be, when the event will take place, and what all the event will entail.
Yeah, Darren, Toppling Goliath came to us 4 years ago and wanted to hold a fundraiser for us when we're building our training center. And we're lucky enough that they have the amount of space to hold the event. And so the last 4 years, we've had our annual gala at TG. We've raised anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 every year. It's been a great fundraiser for us. And going on about this year's gala, it's going to be February 3rd. It's from 7 to 10 o'clock at TG. It's a ticketed event, so you have to have a ticket to be able to go. If you aren't able to go but still want to contribute to the fundraiser, we do have some pre-raffle tickets available for select items that we're going to be giving away on our raffle, and you can get in touch with a firefighter or stop down to the station to do so.
And from what I understand, this is a limited ticket event as well. So if you want to go, you better jump in with 2 feet as soon as possible, right?
Yeah. So starting today, Thursday, we are going to be having our tickets on sale. Anywhere from 425 to 450 tickets will be sold. So, with the amount of publicity it's gotten the last few years, tickets do go fast. So as soon as you can get in touch with someone or stop down to the station, I would recommend getting your tickets as soon as possible.
And how do people do that?
Yep. So each firefighter will have about 10 tickets we'll start out with, and then you can get in touch with any firefighter or stop down here to the fire station on Claiborne Drive, right across from the post office, right at City Hall here. We will get you signed up. We'll get you entered into our spreadsheet. Once you have your ticket, that ticket will be good up until the gala, and you'll use that for your entry into the event that night. And then that gives you that's $20. So pretty reasonable. You get one drink with that, whether that be a pop or an alcoholic beverage, and then it also gets you food for that night, and then it also gets you into a couple raffle prizes. So $20 goes a long way that night, and then you can buy more raffle tickets at the event for all the other raffle prizes that we have.
And I'm just looking at the Volunteer Fire Department's Facebook page. You're starting to post a few of the raffle prizes that you'll be giving away that evening. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty good list, and I'm assuming you'll see more pages up on the Facebook page here in the not too distant future. How many prizes will the raffle all entail?
Yeah, we generally, I think last year we had like 16 to 20. I know this year, it's looking like we're probably going to have more than that. So I think we'll probably do like 12 to 13 individual raffle prizes. And then we'll start bundling some stuff up, or bundle some things together to give away as a first come, first choice type deal. When we draw your name, you get to choose, you might get to choose one out of 10 or 12 things kind of at the end of the table. So we'll have 10 to 12 really good prizes. And then, not that the other ones aren't bad, but just some smaller stuff that people will be able to choose from for kind of house prizes, sort of say.
And I'm seeing that a lot of these prizes are being donated by individuals and businesses. I'd imagine it has to make you guys feel good as a department, knowing the fact that so many businesses, so many individuals want to help contribute to make sure that you guys got the funds to do what you need to do to keep this community safe.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know even the words of it. We're so grateful that we have businesses and people that want to support us, and year after year keep donating things for us to use at this event. That really does put up some really good money for us to have top-notch equipment. In the past, we've our training center the first year, we fundraised, by the time that project was done, over $200,000 that we've put into that. The second year we did our rescue boat, and it's helped tremendously. We've used it on several calls. It's something that no one's ever had here on the Upper Iowa River, and so we were able to fundraise money for that, and that was great. We raised money for our lifting airbags that we purchased last year, and then so we raised like $61,000 last year, and we're able to pay for that whole project and kind of get us off that. And then not necessarily that it was related to the gala, but the Kyle Hageman fundraiser that just got done, that was something that the Hageman family put together. It wasn't really the fire department organizing that, but it was Kyle himself and his family. And he raised money for us to get some more specialized equipment for large equipment extrications or vehicle accidents. And that fundraiser came close to like $50,000 since this accident happened, and that just got over with December 31st. So we can't say thanks enough to everyone in our fire district, everyone in Winship County, and even other neighboring counties. It's been Howard, it's been Chickasaw, it's been Allamakee. It's been several people that have helped us come up with funds to be able to serve and protect the citizens of Winship County.
And the thing of it is, with your training center, it's not just your department that uses that. It's really other fire departments and other EMSs too, correct?
Yeah, for sure. Other fire departments in the county, and we have 7 fire departments in the county, and they've all used our training center. And I know that the state patrol uses it, and the sheriff's office uses it, and the police department uses it. And, it's not just us; it's for a lot more, and it's for the safety and protection of for us as firefighters and the people that live in Winship County.
Anything we're missing? Anything else you want to pass on about the event coming up on February 3rd?
I don't think so. Like I said, I think the biggest thing is, in the past that people sometimes they want to buy a ticket, which is awesome. It's $20. It goes to a great cause. But they know that they're not going to be there, or they can't make it. They have something going on that night. We would rather have you spend your $20 on raffle tickets and save that ticket for somebody that's actually going to show up to the event, because we only have so many spots available. So I think that's kind of the biggest message that we want to get across. It's not that we're want to turn people away at all. It's just we have to save those tickets for people who are actually going to be there. Once again, it's February 3rd. from 7 to 10 at Toppling Goliath. And this year, I should say, we are raising money. One of our side-by-sides is about 15 years old. And we are going to be upgrading that. We'll be getting new tracks. And we will go from right now we have to switch our water tank and patient carrier out whenever we need that individual piece of equipment. And so we'll be upgrading to a water tank and patient carrier that's combined, so it's on the rig at all times. Just things that make things a little bit more efficient for us.
All right, Zach, the Decorah Volunteer Fire Department, they may be just a bunch of volunteers, but they definitely put the community first, and they do great work. And we never want to use your services, but when necessary, you guys are there for us, and you provide us a great service, and you do the community so much good. We can't say thank you enough. I say thank you for taking the time, and enjoy the event coming up on February 3rd. Hopefully, a lot of people will be visiting you at the fire station here in the not too distant future to purchase tickets.
Yeah, that sounds great, Darren. And once again, I just want to say thanks to everybody that supports us and donates, and individuals, families, businesses. It really does mean a lot to us. I don't know, there's not a lot of departments that have the support that we do, and we really do appreciate that.
Zach Kerndt from the Decorah Fire Department. The gala coming up on February 3rd at TG. Happy New Year to you and yours, and a lot to celebrate from 2022. And one thing to celebrate was another very successful Holiday Lights fundraiser for helping services for youth and families. Ben Krouse-Gagne is with us to talk about the recently completed event. It was a snowy December. Towards the end of the event, it was a cold December, but it was a very successful fundraiser, most importantly for your organization, Ben.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Yeah, Holiday Lights had it all this year, from nice warm weather to wet to snowy to frigid weather. So it's we're grateful for all our volunteers that stood out there no matter the weather. And we had to close a few days, but we made the best of it, and we had a wonderful kickoff event for the walkthrough night. So all in all, a wonderful event again this year.
How much money were you able to raise for your organization?
Yeah, so as many folks know, Holiday Lights is a fundraiser for helping services for youth and families programs. So that supports our programs throughout the year, throughout 8 counties in Northeast Iowa. And through sponsorships and those free will donations that you dropped in when you drove through, we were able to raise just over $145,000. So it's a huge amount, but a very important, and it goes straight back into the community doing work. So we're very grateful for everyone who helped donate or volunteer to make it all possible.
And at times like these, where a dollar isn't going as far as it used to raise that type of money, really speaks to the generosity of the community, doesn't it?
It does. You hit the nail on the head there. So it's from all of the, if it's businesses or families who sponsor a display out at the park, or help out with the fireworks that we do, or if it's help for the walk through night, or just drive through and you drop your donation, if it's $10, $20, whatever it is, and it really makes a difference. And it doesn't just pay for the displays there or the work there. And I think that's very important that people understand those dollars that you donate go right back into the community doing work to make our communities healthier and safer. So we're grateful for everyone who makes that possible.
When it comes to the amount of visitors, when it comes to the amount of cars, do you got any specific numbers regarding that for this year's event?
Yeah. So our opening walkthrough night, so the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it's the one night you're able to walk through at our event. We had a record event. We had nice weather, so we're thankful for that. And we had over 3,000 people attend that event. We're always shocked how many people come out for that event. It seems like it's a Decorah and in our area that kind of kicks off the holidays for a lot of people. So we're grateful folks come out and visit Santa and enjoy the soups and walk through and see those displays up close. And then our drive-through, we had just over 3,500 cars drive through, which is wonderful. Each year, you kind of never know how many cars are going to come through. And we had a bunch of icy nights and a few nights we had to close. So the total car numbers were a little bit down this year, but still all in all, a great great event. So we're grateful that people drive through, and the last 2 nights were really surprised us how many cars came through on Christmas Eve and Christmas there. So it's a wonderful thing, and it's we're on to the planning for I guess the 19th. So this was our 18th year, and now we're on to the planning for the 19th. So it's always Christmas over here as we joke around.
Nothing wrong with that. And
Yeah.
It was the snowiest December in Decorah in the last 12 years. And sometimes that creates some a little bit of a challenge to get out to the display. But at the same time, when there's a lot of snow on the ground, I think Christmas lights just get accentuated that much more. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It's we have folks who I know who don't come out to holiday lights until that first snow because the lights really pop in the snow. So if it's so as you kind of think about next year, obviously we'll highlight that again. But it's come back when it snows too. It looks a little different and it really pops there. And we're grateful to have the campground that we're able to use in Decorah, and the folks keep it all spotless for us so the drivers are safe as they go through. And it's a great community event as well. And kind of the community atmosphere of it. It was kind of funny. A car actually pulled off to take some pictures on Christmas night and ended up getting stuck in one of the snowbanks. And a nice little tidbit there is another car drove by and happened to have a chain in there, hooked them up and pulled them out. So it's a community event in many ways. So we're all lending each other a helping hand, especially during the holidays there.
And of course, volunteers help make this event go. How many people helped out in one way or another to make this event a reality?
Yeah, so we have over 400 volunteers who make holiday lights possible. So that is from helping the setup, delivering the displays, and each night we have volunteers greeting cars, making sure they know how to get through, and then handing them a program and collecting that free will donation. But then also with the teardown, helping us get them out of the ground. Sometimes they're a little more frozen in than they need to. So we've got some good volunteers who are good about that. You have to be careful how not to bend the metal that's there and everything. So we're grateful for every volunteer that makes this all possible. And it's definitely a volunteer led event. And we have lots of great partners in that. So we're grateful for all the volunteers that make holiday lights possible.
When does the planning begin for the 2023 Holiday Lights event?
Yeah, so as I kind of joked about there, once the 2022 season kind of wraps up, we get everything out of the ground, we start thinking about 2023. So it's what kind of new displays are we going to bring in? Are we going to bring them in? What are they going to look like? What are we missing at Holiday Lights? Lots of people have ideas there. So if you have ideas, obviously reach out to us at Helping Services, and we're happy to entertain different ideas of what would make the event even better, pop, or make it more interesting for folks to come through. So we've kind of already started on that, and as we recap this year and think about this next year. So it's a wonderful event.
Anything else you want to pass on to the community about the recently completed event, or anything else going on with Helping Services right now?
Yeah, no. So as we've mentioned a few times, Holiday Lights is a fundraiser for Helping Services for youth and families. So our programs are in the community, working each day with you to make your neighborhood healthier and safer. So to learn about our programs, I would encourage you to visit our website at helpingservices.org or .org and learn about those programs, see how you can get involved, because it's not just during the holidays, during the Christmas, Thanksgiving season that we're around each day, and we want to partner with you. So I would encourage you to visit our website at helpingservices.org and check us out.
And it also gives us an opportunity to tease that Kathy Schwartzoff will be on next week talking about National Mentoring Month, and I know that's a big program of you guys'.
It is. I figured Kathy was going to be on. Yes, it's obviously January is National Mentoring Month, and we're always seeking mentors. So if you want to work with a local youth or come on and help out for an event, I'm sure you and Kathy will go through it all. That's just one of our 4 cornerstone programs that really are working in your communities.
Ben, appreciate the time as always. Congratulations on another successful fundraiser for Helping Services for youth and families. And again, thank you for all you do for youth and families and everybody in our area. Thanks for the time.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you. And again, thank you to everyone who came on through and made Holiday Lights such a success again.
Ben Krouse-Gagne from Helping Services for Youth and Families, $145,000 raised through the Holiday Lights fundraiser in the Christmas season of 2022. We are at the beginning of the year, and we're still taking a little bit of a look back at 2022, and we're going to talk the year in weather in Decorah. And when we talk Decorah weather, this is the guy we talked to, Luther College professor Richard Bernatz, joining us. And Richard, what conclusions did we come to? What type of a year was it last year in 2022?
Well, Darren, it turned out to be warmer than normal in terms of an annual average. What that means is we take, excuse me, there are two temperatures recorded daily in Decorah, a daytime high, daytime low. And then we average those two to get a daytime average, and then we average all of those 365 or so numbers throughout the year to get what we call the annual average. In this particular year, we had an annual average temperature of 47.7. That's slightly greater than the overall average of 44 or 46.44. So we were above average for the year in terms of temperature. That's a trend that has now resulted in 8 consecutive years where our average annual temperature has been greater than the overall average for about 129 years or so that we have records for the city of Decorah. In terms of precipitation, this year we were wetter than normal. We had 39.20 inches of precipitation. That when we say precipitation, we mean melted precipitation. So that includes snow. However, the snow is first melted before the depth is measured. So we had 39.20 inches this year. That's about 6 inches more than average of 33.34. So in summary, a warmer than average and wetter than average year.
Can we conclude anything long-term by basing it on the snapshot of 2022, or how long of trends do we have to go back and gather before we can make any long-term conclusions on whether the weather is changing that much here in Decorah?
It's a good question. It's a tough question because we have a single location, so it's hard to generalize that to a larger area, say for the upper Midwest or the United States in general. But when I look at trends, I would have to say that the last 50 years or so, it's more likely that our annual average is warmer than the overall average. There's been one other time when we've had a sequence of years that have been consistently warmer. That was back in the 90s, where we had 10 consecutive years where we had above average annual temperatures. If we go back, I don't know, I remember, I'm old enough to remember the 1960s. That ended up actually being a pretty cold segment for Decorah, where generally temperatures on a yearly basis were colder than what we would call normal or the overall average for 129 years. So I'm going to say that, recently we've had a string of years where temperatures have been above average, but I'm not going to say that that means next year will be above average. It looks like we can have consecutive years either above or below, but then the next year, of course, could be the opposite. So it's hard for me to say that we've got a trend going here.
And when you look at the overall rankings, temperature-wise, September made the top 20 of September's in Decorah when it comes to temperatures. But other than that, there didn't seem to be those extremes when it comes to temperatures. Is that a fair conclusion?
Yeah, that's right. It's if you look at the monthly averages that make up, of course, the annual averages, there really wasn't any particular month this calendar year that stands out as being significantly warmer than usual. Of course, that's different in terms of precipitation. We had the wettest ever July on record, where we had 10.83 inches of precipitation this July. So that was the one particular monthly statistic this year that really stands out as being, something, with a strong deviation from the normal.
And it's interesting when you look at it, you just brought up July being the wettest July ever, but 2 months later in September, only 10 Septembers were drier than that month. How does that work? How does that happen?
Well, you can think of the atmosphere as a stream generally. With it, where we live in the Midwest, generally that stream of air travels west to east over us. But that stream can have wiggles in it. And if the wiggle is one way, we get a wet month. And the next month or 2 months from that, the wiggle could be just the opposite, where we end up having drier than normal air and air masses that predominate. So that's the thing about it. We can have that variation from 1 month to the next simply because of where that jet stream, when I talk about that stream of air, I'm talking about the jet stream. That really determines a lot about our weather in terms of what temperatures and precipitation will be like, and it can vary quite a bit from one month to the next.
And I know for the most part, Decorah avoided severe weather in 2022, but again, that's kind of hard to talk about because we're talking about one community. You go 10 miles south of us, a certain part of Schellhammer was hit pretty hard in July. So does that kind of accentuate your point that you're making when you're looking at one community? It's just more of a snapshot than a whole bigger picture to draw conclusions.
Well, yeah, that's especially true in the summer, where you can have what are essentially convective type storms, thunderstorms that can be very localized, as opposed to, say, a wider range wintertime storm that we're experienced a couple of weeks ago, or I guess not quite a couple of weeks ago, with that massive winter storm that hit much of the United States. So yeah, in the summer, 10 miles can make a big difference in terms of what people will experience, either in precipitation or winds. In that particular case, yeah, Schellhammer got hit pretty hard with that. Essentially, to me, it was a derecho, but it had pockets of higher wind speeds, associated with those straight line winds. And in fact, there may have even been a tornado or two.
Excuse me. You mentioned the storm that hit the area, and really a lot of this country a couple weeks ago, where temperatures in Florida were in the 20s. I know Nashville, Tennessee was below zero, and I read somewhere that you could drive the entire length of I-35 and be under a wind chill warning. What happened to make a Christmas week so chilly, really all over this country?
Well, yeah, I've been involved with either formally or informally weather for almost 50 years now, and I've never seen a storm as massive as that one in terms of its breadth across the country, but also its depth throughout the atmosphere. So that was one aspect. The other is the length and time that storm was impinging, affecting the weather in the United States. It's one of those things where, you've heard that phrase, but it truly was a perfect storm. 5 or 6 things have to happen at once to bring the factors together to create such an immense and strong storm. It's what is known as a bomb cyclone. That means that the central pressure of that low pressure system drops at least 1 millibar per hour for 24 hours. I think I read that storm dropped something like 36 millibars over a 24-hour period, which is very exceptional. Had that low pressure system been situated over water, it would have been a Category 2 hurricane. So that was a very strong, very immense, and very long-lasting storm. Certainly in my lifetime, probably the storm of my lifetime.
And because of that, the snowfall total for Decorah was 15.5 inches in December. I know that was the snowiest December, looking back on your record book since 2010. Is that going to be a sign of things to come for the rest of the winter, or is it too early to tell?
Well, I'm a lot better telling you what the weather was like than what the weather will be. Yeah, we do have trends that can last for a while based on what has happened. One of the best ways of making a forecast, at least in the short term, is what we call persistence forecasting. And if you want to know what the weather tomorrow will be, think about what the weather was today. But that breaks down after you probably go out several days, and then we start talking about going out a couple weeks. So yeah, I'm not going to make any predictions right now about how much snow we have in store for us the rest of this winter, and in terms of temperature either. That's why it's always living in Iowa. If you want if you want to if you don't like the weather, just wait a bit and it'll change.
And when it comes to forecasting weather, I usually follow the National Weather Service, and no matter where I am or where I'm traveling, and they seemingly can get things right, as you were mentioning, up to probably a 4, 5, 6 day period. Is there any way to guess logically beyond that in your mind?
Not really. Generally, we break forecasting into two categories. One is called deterministic, where they use pretty complicated mathematical formulas to make precise or hopefully precise weather forecasts, and then it becomes statistical. And once you get beyond that 3 to 4 day period that you mentioned, now we're talking more about statisticals and, statistical sorts of inferences in terms of what the weather will be like. And right now, the state of the science is pretty good for maybe 4 or 5 days. After that, then generally the forecasts rely more on probabilities, and you have to really look more so at the chance of temperatures being above average or the chance of temperatures being below average instead of a specific temperature that will be forecast.
Is that where the phrase there are lies, damn lies, and statistics comes from, perhaps?
It's a good example. I think I read someplace that if you want to ruin your reputation, then forecast the weather.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. Richard, always good and interesting talking to you about the 2022 weather that was. And if anything unusual comes up, we'll definitely be in contact with you. Thanks for the time this morning, and Happy New Year to you.
Thanks, and same to you, Darren.
Richard Bernatz, a Luther College professor and Decorah weather statistician, talking about the 2022 weather year that was. After 12 years, there's a new member of the Allamakee County Board of Supervisors this week, as Larry Schellhammer decided not to seek a re-election. And for the first time in 12 years, it was the first business day of the week, and it was 9:30, and you didn't have anything to do this week, Larry. How weird of a feeling was that?
It was a little bit weird, but it was good in the same sense. I was driving away from the courthouse Tuesday morning instead of towards it. So it was good. Had a good day on Tuesday to kind of break it in.
What made this the right time to step aside for you?
I just kind of look back on the 12 years I had, and last summer when I needed to start thinking about actually campaigning again, I couldn't get excited about it. I knew in my heart I had done it long enough, and I felt like if I would have done another 4 years, it would have been completely out of an obligation that I sort of felt. And knowing that we had a quality guy interested in doing it, it just looked like a good time for me to step aside. So it all works out in the end, right?
When it comes to running for public office or deciding to run for public office, where is that fine line between personal motivation and public obligation?
That's a great question, Darren. Originally, when I got in this, it was out of what I would describe as a servant's heart. I mean, I've always kind of had that, and I wanted to exemplify that to my kids, my family, my community. And I do think as, citizens, if you have the desire and the ability, the idea of serving in some sort of public capacity is a great thing to do. When it becomes, in my case, when it got to be 12 years and you look back and you go, okay, I think I've done my civic duty, and there are other people that want to do it as well. So why would I take that away from somebody else, that same opportunity? and stand in their way. So I guess that would be the best way I could answer it, is just, you got to know in your heart when it's right for you to step aside.
Looking back at your 12-year tenure, what are you most proud of?
Oh gosh. I would say probably the way that we were able to treat people that came to our boardroom, and then a number of things that I was part of accomplishing in my years on the board. I know we had a lot of we did some projects, building projects. The visitor center in Lansing comes to mind. I think that was a great piece to be involved with, moving the public safety center outside of Walk-On. That was an interesting thing to be part of. We did some ordinances when they came up, the frac sand thing, just as a way of kind of preserving our county and the beauty that we have, and trying to get that balance between business and recreation and just natural beauty is always a challenge in that. That was a good project, or a good ordinance that we put together. Just, yeah, you could go almost every year. There was something that happened that you go back and go, yeah, that was the problem of the year, and that was the issue we faced. And we always had good people on the board to serve with me, and we were able to kind of move Allamakee County forward, which was always a goal of mine too, to show people the possibilities that we have in Allamakee County, to be a board of let's try it instead of a board of no. That was always a goal of mine, to make it, to look at the possibilities of what you can do, and raise that bar as far as what people look at Allamakee County and think about where we were and where we are, and just to have raised that bar a little bit.
What's the best thing about Allamakee County, and has that changed in the last 12 years that you have been on the board?
Oh, easily the people. I mean, I love the people of Allamakee County. I love the employees that I was able to work with. We've got a great staff. I always had great people on the board to serve with. It all starts with the people, and then it just builds from there. I met so many great people, in the years I was in there. And it was just fun to work with people that are like-minded, or have the best interest of the county and in mind, and then just to grow that and to be part of that and to foster that. That was probably the best part of it.
When you look at where the county is now moving forward, and I won't ask you to make any predictions because you're not in that position anymore, but what's going to be the biggest challenge for Allamakee County moving forward?
I think, the budget is always probably the biggest challenge, with the economic conditions that we're kind of faced with right now, with the inflation rate that we're having. I think the next couple of years are going to be kind of critical with that. One of our larger taxpayers in the county, the power plant in Lansing, is going to close. So there's going to be some revenue challenges for the county and for the city. And I mean, people were prepared for that, but those are always challenges. And I think that historically we've probably been behind pay wise with our staffing and with our people. And I think the reality is that that's going to need to come into line a little better, so we can keep the quality people we have and attract more quality people. So budgetarily, it would probably be the biggest things I would see coming forward.
This is my own personal observation, and I think I try to be fair enough that it is pretty much a true statement, because a lot of the time when we talk about politics nowadays, it's the negativity and the division and all the bad stuff about politics. But down at the local level, especially at the county level, you guys always seem to stay above the fray. How are you able to do that in a political world that my industry, myself included, says you shouldn't get along and shouldn't be focused on the good?
Yeah, it's it's intentional. I mean, I think at the county level, you're very intentional about keeping political issues out. And that truly was my goal as a chair, was to just say, we're just not going to go there. And there's been a couple times when some political things have come up. We had one last year that comes to mind, and it was just a matter of, just saying we are not going to go there. We had the discussion about it, but you just got to keep it at bay, because that truly is when you start dividing things up. And really at the county level, it's all about providing services and making sure that people have the things they need to do their job, and the training and the equipment they have. I mean, that's pretty much our world. And to get into the political side of it, that just brings an element in that is a total distraction. And we don't need it. We don't need it at that level. And actually, the political piece of it is what kept me from ever desiring to go above the level of supervisor. I mean, I had a chance to, maybe go down to Des Moines, but the political side of it just kept me away from ever having that desire to the point that I wanted to do it.
How do we keep people interested in serving in positions like the one you've served in for the last 12 years? How do you keep that hunger amongst folks to make sure that service and giving back to their community continues for years to come?
Well, hopefully if anybody's interested, they look at, the possibilities that maybe your predecessors have created. When I decided it was something I wanted to do or was looking at it, I talked to Krouse-Gagne. I went and visited with him, somebody that I had respected and enjoyed watching him do the same job that I was looking at. And he was very encouraging. And I think as public officials, we need to maybe not seek out people, but in some cases you do, especially for boards and commissions. You really have to think about, approaching people, because a lot of people aren't going to volunteer to be on the historic commission or the library board, or, so you have to kind of look in your community and encourage those people to come forward and just be a kind of I hate to say role model, but a role model in some senses about what you can and what it looks like to serve publicly. So I think those are the kind of things that speak to the people that have that in their heart anyway. So that's a good thing. If you come to a position like mine with a single agenda in mind, like if you're mad about something, that rarely works. I think you have to approach boards and commissions with, truly you want to serve and do the best you can for your community.
This might be a similar question to the one I just asked, but what is your advice to people that serve on local governments like the one you have served on?
I think anytime you're in a position like that where you're trying to lead people or lead discussions, I think the best thing you can do is to listen. And it's really about listening and asking questions. Most of the time when you sit down with somebody or you're in a meeting, if it starts to get heated or something, if you simply just pull back and just ask the right questions, a lot of times people will solve their own issue. So I think that was one thing that I always tried to lean on, is just to, if there was a situation like that, listen, ask the right questions, don't be combative, don't be arrogant. And people have the right to come in and talk to you, and that's our job, is to weigh their information. And they might not get the answer they want, but usually you can get them to a consensus of maybe that's the best thing or why you have to do something a certain way. But it's all about listening and asking the right questions.
Any regrets?
Not about my years on the board. There were a few things that I did want to try and accomplish when I was there that never happened. And those were, I guess I would say, legislative issues, where I saw things that I thought were unfair for Allamakee County. And I had gone to Des Moines and had, spoke a few times in different committee things or something about, and the one I'm thinking of is you got to give me a second here, the Forest Reserve Program. I always thought that was a little bit unfair to our county. And it was something that I wanted to speak to as far as getting it changed. and never really got any traction for that. There was a couple of years I thought maybe they were going to be able to change something, and it never really happened. So I guess if, as far as a regret, that would be it. Is just legislatively, I couldn't get anything done in that arena. But otherwise, I am totally satisfied with my time on the board. I had a great run. And again, great people, great results, and handing the county off in a really good position right now.
All right, Larry, we appreciate the time talking about your 12-year supervisor career that came to an end on December 31st. I've always appreciated our interactions. Got to know you first when we co-announced the conference wrestling tournament and walk-on, probably 14 years ago now. And I've always enjoyed talking to you, and I've always enjoyed our interactions and enjoy having your free Monday mornings, and we appreciate the time.
I appreciate you as well, Darren. And yeah, I did think of that too. I was like trying to figure out what year that was, and always enjoyed that time with you. And hey, never know, maybe we can do something like that again sometime.
Well, I got your number if necessary. Okay. Larry Schellhammer joining us 12 years on the Allamakee County Board of Supervisors, and he is now has his Monday mornings and many other parts of the week free as well. A big mungatuck to the guest on the program this morning, Zach Kerndt from the Decorah Fire Department. The Decorah Fire Department Gala coming up on Friday, February 3rd, and tickets are available. Contact the fire station for that event. Ben Krouse-Gagne from Helping Services for Youth and Family. $145,000 raised through the Holiday Lights fundraiser, and planning already underway for 2019. Richard Bernatz, Decorah weather statistician, Luther College professor, talking about the year that was weather-wise in Decorah. And Larry Schellhammer, tip of the hat to him for 12 years of service on the Allamakee County Board of Supervisors. Don't forget, each and every week we put the shows up on YouTube. It's another way we can pass on the interesting guest to you. We realize you can't always be near a streaming device or a radio at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, but we feel we get to talk to interesting people, and we want you to enjoy that content on your schedule. So if you out gallivanting on YouTube, just go to 1/5 Our Town program. We will put up the shows that way, and we'll also put links to these programs on our Facebook pages of all of our LA communication stations. Another way we do our best to serve you, the public, because without you, none of this would make sense. Our thanks to our guest on the program. Our thanks to our fine sponsor for many years. And continuing here into 2023, Decorah Bank and Trust. And most importantly, we thank you, that's right, you, for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town. And you're listening to it on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.